It began in darkness. Lanark slept under curfew, not peace, obedience. English rule had turned night itself into a warning. Torches burned where laughter once lived. Doors stayed shut, voices stayed low. At the center of it all stood one man, William Heselrig, Sheriff of Lanark, the visible hand of English law. He believed order came from fear, and for a time, he was right. Scotland in 1297 was not conquered by armies alone. It was conquered by systems, by courts that did not listen, by taxes that never ended, by punishments delivered publicly to remind everyone who was in charge. Edward I ruled from afar, but his authority was intimate. It reached into barns, into markets, into homes. Lanark felt it every day. Heselrig was not a general. He was administration, and administration can be merciless. For most people, resistance meant survival. Endure, comply, hope the knock never came. William Wallace was not a leader yet, not a symbol, not a legend, just a man watching pressure build year after year, until May of 1297. A court was being held in Lanark, English authority on full display, law as Edward intended it, unquestioned, final. Something went wrong. Accounts differ, but they agree on this. A confrontation erupted. Wallace was involved. Words were exchanged, tempers flared, violence followed. Wallace escaped the court alive, but now marked. This matters, because what followed was not panic. It was decision. Days later, Wallace returned, not alone, not impulsively, but with a small, deliberate force. This was not random bloodshed. It was a targeted strike. They moved under cover of night. They knew the town. They knew the routines of occupation. Heselrig was surprised, overwhelmed, killed. The English sheriff, the embodiment of authority in Lanark, was gone. The impact was immediate, not just because a man had died, but because of who that man was. Heselrig represented law, process, control, and he had been struck down in the very place English justice was meant to be enforced. This was not chaos. It was a message. The English understood it instantly. This was not a riot. It was an attack on administration itself, on courts, on authority, on the idea that English law was inevitable. Fear moved faster than facts. Lanark was punished, homes searched, suspects dragged out, order reasserted through force. But something had already changed. The sheriff was dead, and Wallace was still free. Stories spread, not embellished horrors, but something more dangerous. That the English could be surprised, that officials were vulnerable, that authority could be challenged directly. To the English, Wallace became a problem to be contained. To the Scots, he became proof. Proof that submission was not the only option. This was the moment Wallace crossed a line, not from civilian to criminal, but from subject to insurgent. He had not attacked soldiers in battle. He had struck the system itself, and systems respond differently. Wallace did not stay in Lanark. He moved. Others joined, not because of speeches, not because of prophecy, but because fear had changed sides. If this brutal truth fascinates you, if you want history without comfort or myth, join the Dusk Keepers and subscribe. Wallace's name now carried weight. English officials whispered it. Scots spoke it carefully. He was hunted, but he was also followed, and the man was already becoming more than himself. The English crown could not allow this to stand, not because of one dead sheriff, but because of what his death represented. Law challenged, authority mocked, control disrupted. Edward would respond, not with mercy, not with compromise, but with spectacle. Because what came next was never about justice, it was about example. William Wallace had struck the system. Now the system would strike back, and when it did, it would do so in full view of the world. Next time, the trial that was never meant to be fair.